Wow. Thank you so much, Cody, for being here and for sharing your story and your voice with us. The woman to my right is my wife. I know her as Liz. Prior to coming down with MECFS, Liz got her PhD in evolutionary biology, and so she is Dr. Liz, which makes me Mr. Dr. Nathan Young. And I don't want to embarrass her, so I will just say that this woman is my hero, and with that, I'm going to hand the mic to her. Oh no, she's mic'd. Wayne is our champion today.
Can you all hear me? Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. Welcome, Liz.
Yeah, thanks. So, Wayne was talking about invisible disabilities before. I'm a little visible with the old wheelchair here, but what is still invisible is that I am exhausted right now. I feel awful, guys. But it was so important to me to be here, and the 45 minutes, whatever I spent sitting up from laying down in the car to watching everyone, just wanted to let you know where I was. I feel like crap, but I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad the sun's shining. My name is Liz, and I'm one of the millions missing. Missing from my job as a freelance science writer, missing from Christmas parties, missing from coffee shops, missing from hikes, missing from anything that requires more than an hour of sitting or any reasonable amount of walking. And honestly, anything that needs much concentrated thinking or emotional energy. I've tried my best to keep my language under control in this speech, but there will be one foul word repeated twice towards the end. My apologies. I have MECFS along with a number of diagnoses that often, but not always, come along for the ride. They include postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Hey, we got another posse in the house. Nice. Also Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, mast cell activation disorder, and a few others who I won't even mention. And most of them arrived very suddenly on September 25th, 2017, while my husband and I were still living on the East Coast. Originally from Colorado, we were living on the East Coast at the time. On September 24th, we had a lovely day in Vermont and New Hampshire, celebrating my 34th birthday. We stopped at the King Arthur Flower Store. If any of you are bakers out there, you know what that means. And I walked the aisles, admiring the gadgetry and innumerable baking flowers and treats. We hit up a maple barn and stuffed bags full of maple sugar candies, maple sugar syrup, maple sugar chapstick, maple sugar fudge, and every other maple-flavored oddity my heart desired. I made the walk over tree roots and uneven ground to the car, to the shop, to the restroom and back with no problem, no aches, and no worries. It was the last day of my mini getaway. I wish the leaves were changing a little more, but mostly I was grateful to have pulled my spouse away from his grad work at Rhode Island School of Design for one weekend. Oh, this is interesting. Oh my, surprises. Oh geez. Well, this is cool. We're missing one of the pages of my speech. Well, we're gonna riff a little bit here. The deal is, on September 25th, I woke up. We were back home, and I felt really crappy. I thought maybe I was getting the flu or something. So I decided I would try and just nip it in the bud, set myself to bed, thought I would lay down and try and get over it before, anything more serious happened. And I've been laying down ever since. And since then, I've been demeaned by doctors, I've been hung up on by nurses, and dismissed and invalidated by family and friends. Not all family and friends, mind you, but enough that it definitely bears mentioning. My doctors on the East Coast were worthless at best, demeaning and invalidating at the worst. After results were negative for every blood test my primary doctor could think of, in addition to a few others that I begged for, he decided I was depressed and washed his hands of me, suggesting that maybe this will just be some blip that I just get over. I think it's really important to note here that mental illnesses are very real and potentially life-threatening conditions. And depression is even a condition that I have ample experiences with. But last fall, I was not depressed. I know the difference, and I was not depressed. After a doctor in the family told me about POTS, and I secured a specialist visit through back channels, still on the East Coast, I researched the primary literature from scientific journals about POTS and shared that information with specialists, only to be told that my information from researchers was not how POTS works, or my favorite. One doctor told me that he just didn't like diagnosing people with POTS because there wasn't anything you could do about it. Which, word to the wise, there are things you can do. He just didn't know about them. These specialists didn't have any suggestions, though, for other diagnoses that I might have, any possible treatments to help me feel better, or even other medical fields to consult. It was just a, sorry, don't know what's up with you. Good luck, I guess. It became clear that our life needed to hit the pause button. My husband took a leave of absence from his program at RISD. My brain fog was so bad that I couldn't write even the simplest faculty profiles for my university clients. And I still can't. With no income, we moved home to Colorado to stay with family and figure out what was wrong with me. My saving grace was getting in at the Mayo Clinic in Arizona, which is full of compassionate doctors and operates on the motto of treating the patient, not the results. The doctor in the family that I mentioned earlier works there, and while she does not specialize in any of my chronic conditions, she was able to help me navigate the system, and she knew how special Mayo is. Thanks to her and the Mayo's ethos, I got my diagnosis in 5 months, which I am so grateful for. I know how unusual my timeline is for folks like us, but I want to point out what incredible bullshit that is. We all deserve so much better. While I recognize my incredible privilege of having a Mayo doctor in the family, my story of a hostile medical system, losing basically all of our income because my husband was in school, being forced to relocate cross-country, and waiting 5 months with no answers as to why I can't walk anymore, being a good story, is absolute bullshit. For so many other conditions, society as a whole would be rioting in the streets. They'd be calling their congresspeople about funding the NIH. Heck, they'd be on the Ellen Show. But for the millions of us, that's just the way it's been. Which is why I'm so glad that Millions Missing exists. Because I am not okay with my experience, and I am not okay with anyone else having to go through it in the future. Thank you so much.